Hello there, good afternoon, and this is News Today. I am Mensah Akosia Adeti. We're coming to you live from our studios here in Kokomlemle, Accra. We're also live on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 125. Coming up this afternoon, 7 people are receiving medical treatment after sustaining injuries during a fire outbreak and indiscriminate shooting by a resident at Ghc Junction. Business owners and residents are counting their losses. We'll also take you to the scene of another fire, the Accra Tourism Center, which was also gutted by fire in the early hours on Monday.
So they hurriedly try to contain the fire and eventually put it out.
And also, the Ghana Police Service has retrieved weapons believed to have been used to murder the immigration officer Stephen King Amwa. Among the items recovered is a blood-stained fufu pistol, now central to the ongoing investigations.
Forensic inspection revealed the following: blood stains in the living room and evidence of attempted cleanup, freshly sprayed walls, an empty can of sprayed paint.
And later in the bulletin, the struggle for shelter is real for many low-income earners in Accra. In today's episode of our Habitat series, Ghc tells the story of a young father on the brink of eviction, trapped by Ghana's crippling rent advance.
How much?
80 cedis a week. Everybody pays. Yeah, I think we have about 18 on one line.
Please stay because we have business, sports, showbiz, and world today in this 60 minutes package. Thank you for staying. I am Mensah Akosia Adeti. First, 7 people are receiving medical treatment after sustaining injuries in a fire outbreak at Madina Junction on Saturday morning. A visit by JoyNews Mensah revealed residents and business owners count their losses. The Sunday afternoon blaze triggered chaos and panic, but it was gunfire rather than flames that left at least 10 people injured. According to Ernesto Parry, one of the victims currently receiving treatment at the Pentecost Hospital, alongside 4 others. He sustained gunshot wounds to his forehead, back, and buttocks. Ernest recounted that a man known as Area became enraged during the commotion, pulled out a pump-action gun, and began firing indiscriminately right in front of police and fire officers.
Bullet and I saw a camera and about 9 and about to ever come forehead. Do something in a pump action, yeah. 15 million, yeah, 15 worries, and or to 2 o'clock. I think you probably police one, every kind of police war, any police one fire service. Try to show them down, police want to protect it. I don't know, obviously, that the end of party 2 film.
Yenema be play I say mattress yenkonya ade bibia I say ya to aban say srana ondo boy ajuma we ya ne ya eti I say enema nyina edu ha e bodi long ene ya srana ondo bla me no mai onye mwano ade srade ai betu
My colleague Stephen Mensah was at the scene and joins me with more. Stephen, so you met ECG officials at the scene?
Yes. And if our visit to the scene indicated that some of the ECG officials were at the scene and were disabling the electricity poles that are there currently. They do not want power within these electricity poles to cause any more harm.
Right, and you also spoke with some residents. What have they been telling you about the fire and most importantly, the gunshots?
Yes, so most of the residents and the homeowners and also business owners we spoke to have been indicating they've been counting their losses. Some are counting items worth thousands of Ghana cedis, from 60,000 down to about 6,000 Ghana cedis. For the gunshots, we understand that some of the affected persons have been rushed to the police, to the hospitals. However, they are not able to indicate where the gunshots happened or who shot the gun at the time.
I mean, it's been some number of hours since the fire outbreak. The Ghana National Fire Service has actually been speaking, but do you see anything different today over there?
Yes, so the Ghana National Fire Service personnel are still on the scene. They've indicated that the police of the scene is a security zone and it has been cordoned off from all other persons except the media personnel. They are also assessing the cause of the fire. We got to see some of them going through some of the things to ensure that there's no flammable items there currently.
Right. You also visited one of the victims, I understand, Ernest Opari. What have you been learning?
So he has been discharged from the hospital. He's currently at home and he's tending to his injuries. However, he's seeking for reimbursement and also medical treatments for his injuries sustained.
Okay. Do we know anything about this person who was supposedly firing the gun?
Not yet. However, there's a statement from the Ghana Police Service and they are asking for credible information from the general public to ensure that the person who shot the gun is arrested.
All right, Steve, thank you. I know that you're still on there and you may bring us some information. Thank you for bringing us up to speed with what's happening there. But away from the Minister for Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts, Ablah Jifagoma, she says she is devastated by the fire that ripped through the Accra Tourist Information Center in Cantonment in early hours of Tuesday. Firefighters from the Ghana National Fire Service, with support from 5 nearby stations, responded swiftly to the scene and managed to bring the blaze under control by 3:32 a.m. and fully extinguished by 6:35 a.m. according to the Ghana National Fire Service statement. The fire destroyed the entire first floor of the building, but the ground floor and several offices were salvaged. No injuries were reported. My colleague Noella Karen Iyale has more.
All right, so good morning. And of course, I'm coming to you live from the Accra Tourist Information Center, where we understand that fire has ravaged parts of the facility. And it's terrible here. Pretty shortly, I'll be walking you through the extent of the damage the fire has caused to the facility. And I can confirm to you that with the exception of a few officers, that fire officers tell me that they were able to salvage, the entire facility has been ravaged by fire. You can see in your shot the extent of damage. Well, on social media, we had several rumors as to what started the fire, and particularly a lot of people seem to have suggested that it started from this restaurant, Rock Swache. And of course, if you're a Ghanaian, you definitely know that it's a famous restaurant owned by legendary hip life musician Reggie Rockstone. We understand that the fire started from the kitchen of the restaurant. How true is that? We want to hear from the horse's own mouth, and I have here with me Reggie Rockstone.
About the source of the fire. It has not been determined where it came from. Yes, it did come from that side, but they do have electricals and they do have a kitchen there. And I said there are somebody about say you famous in bedroom, but it hasn't been confirmed, and so we're going to salvage what is on the CCTV, and then we'll know. It's definitely not an arson, so it's not deliberate. If you see the extent of the fire, then you will realize how dangerous it was, and no one was harmed.
At what point did you hear about, the fire?
Well, we work 24 hours, and so on Sundays usually we do shifts, but me and my wife, she had gone to the church and so on, so we were actually at home, and when we got the call, and it's not the best thing to...
The call from who?
From the workers, because yeah, 24 hours. And you did video sending from when we woke up, we're still here. And so it started from about around 12. And then the fire service, please, let's be clear on this. Before you start to point fingers at the fire service, the reason being that in proximity, they're very close to us. Unfortunately, Madina caught fire as well. And this is why they were late. So 1 hour. I'm
here with the fire officer on ground, Mrs. Mausi Daniela Into Sapon. She's going to tell us what they've been able to investigate so far, what have been their findings, and so on.
It was a running call around 1 a.m. Somebody ran to the office, and then my men came here.
So when you got here, what did you see?
We realized the whole place has caught fire, and it was a bit alarming. So they hurriedly tried to contain the fire and eventually put it off.
Right. And per what you saw, what was the extent of damage?
I can't say for now, but then we are still doing the investigations, and every little thing that comes out will be known to the public.
Can you even tell us a little bit about your preliminary investigation as to what caused the fire and all of that? Because we're hearing that it actually started from the...
And to are safe, and we thank God for that.
Here is the main entrance of the facility. This used to be a very vibrant haven for a lot of creatives. I spoke to the tourism and culture minister a while ago, Honorable Jifa Gomashi, who was very devastated by the incident.
No, I'm totally devastated. The young lady who we have assigned to take charge of the National Film Authority came to my mind because she was in my office about her office space.
Kafui
Danku. She was in my office talking about her office space, and we're trying to see how to let her dream and the vision of the president come through. And for me to wake up this morning to hear this, I'm devastated, really. And not to make light of the situation, but my directors will tell you that anytime we have a meeting here, I don't leave without getting my wache. And to see that this is what we woke up to, it's really troubling and traumatizing.
Well, my colleague Nwala Karin Yali bringing us update on that recent fire that just happened at the Accra Tourism Center. But fire outbreak costs in the first half of this year have surged by over 200%, with more than 3,500 incidents recorded nationwide. A JoyNews research computation shows the cost of damages went up by 128 billion in the first 6 months of this year relative to last year. Our data and research team have been studying the numbers, and the lead analyst Isaac Ofieje joins me in studio here to let us understand 2 big fires during the weekend. What more do we know, Kofi?
Well, MFL, unfortunately, we ended the first half of the year with 3,595 fire outbreaks across the length and breadth of the country. and we started the second half of the year. We're not even done with the first week, and we are recording 2 big fires over the weekend. But beyond the number of the outbreaks, what is the total amount involved in terms of the damages and all of that? We look at the first half of the year. I mean, we've lost close to about 190 million Ghana cedis already as a result of the over 3,500 outbreaks we actually witnessed in the first half. And in fact, if we go deep into these numbers and you analyze, you see that the total amount of properties and items or wares involved in the first half alone was around 392 million Ghana cedis involved in that over 3,000 fire outbreaks we saw. Now, what actually, fascinates me or is a bit troubling is the fact that if you compare this to last year, the first half of last year, we recorded a similar number of fire outbreaks. But in terms of the damages, it was just around 60 million Ghana cedis. Now, with the same or similar, number, we are recording 188 damages in terms of the fire outbreaks. And if you do the math, you see that the outbreaks have gone up by some 0.53%. But in terms of the damages, it has actually gone up by more than 211%.
That's a lot.
So you are actually comparing not even up to 1% increment in the number of outbreaks, but in terms of the damages involved, going up by more than 211%. Now, we've been trying to also do some sort of analysis. If you look at the difference between the damages last year and this year, up by 128 million Ghana cedis. So the big question is, what are we doing? In fact, the last time we were actually analyzing the data, and we were saying that if you sample 10 firefighters, the trucks in Accra, about half of them are non-functional. And that's the reason why we see some of this outbreak. And you heard from Reggie Roxon saying that, because there was a fire outbreak in Madina and there was one somewhere around the Jubilee House. The Accra Tourist Center is also close to the Jubilee House. It had to take the fire service an hour to get to that place. This is the capital we are talking about. And about half of the firefighters, the trucks we have, are currently non-operational.
Would you say that between Accra and Kumasi, Accra is a hotspot, but I cannot get my mind off the Doom fire outbreak quite recently as well?
If you look at this figure, the 3,595 fire outbreaks we recorded in the first half, more than 60% of that came from Accra or Greater Accra region and the Ashanti region alone. So that makes the 2 cities, Accra and Kumasi, just like you said, the hotspots when you're talking about fire outbreaks in the country.
Interesting. Maybe we have to look at what we're not doing right.
Absolutely.
Well, but you've got anything to tell me about the new producer prize?
Well, we'll have more on, the business segment at 1 o'clock. But what you have is that government is expected to announce a new producer price for cocoa. And the big question is the promise to give farmers about 70% of the global price. Will that actually materialize? Looking at the current situation and the current situation of cocoa board, which is saying that, well, we are already encountering some loss because of the exchange rate appreciation.
Okay.
So it'll be interesting to see whether government will actually keep to its promise. The promise from the Agric Minister, who said that farmers deserve about 70% of the global price. It will be interesting to see what government will announce, and we'll be here to do the comparative analysis on the business segment at 1 p.m. And
I
so
look forward
we're
to
expecting
that as well.
to.
I really do, especially because farmers have been asking for some welfare when you're doing the computation.
If you don't do that, smuggling is also at the corner where we lose about 120,000 metric tons of cocoa every year because of smuggling. And it's usually because of the difference in price.
Thank you so much, Kofi. Now, away from that, the Ghana Police Service says it has retrieved weapons believed to have been used in the gruesome murder of Immigration Officer Stephen King Amwa. Among the items recovered is a blood-stained fufu pistol, suspected to have been one of the murder weapons. The discovery, police say, forms a crucial part of ongoing investigations into the killing, which occurred under disturbing circumstances in the Upper West region.
The investigation took a decisive turn on 16 July 2025 when the CID, supported by officers from the counter-terrorism units and the Kwabena District Police, visited the suspect's residence. A forensic inspection revealed the following: blood stains in the living room and evidence of attempted cleanup, freshly sprayed walls, and empty can of sprayed paint. A search of a secondary crime scene near the GBC satellite area also uncovered a burnt woolen carpet stained with blood and partially burnt camouflage fabric. These items were photographed, retrieved, and processed for forensic analysis. On 24 July, police obtained a warrant from the court to search a particular room in the suspect's house. A search in the room revealed more blood stains which were photographed and samples were collected for forensic analysis. A further search in the bushes about 100 meters from the suspect's house also led to the retrieval of a fufu pestle with blood stains all over it wrapped in polythene. Police also impounded the suspect's vehicle in which some blood stains were also seen and same was collected for analysis. I wish to state that the initial blood samples collected have tested positive for human blood. To aid the investigation, the deceased mother and son have provided samples for DNA profiling. In the face of these pieces of evidence, the suspect who was initially charged with kidnapping has since been rearrested and formally charged with murder. He is currently on remand following his appearance before the Accra District Court and is scheduled to reappear on 8 August 2025. A special operation is currently underway to identify and arrest his accomplices, and we are following other vital leads to gather all necessary evidence against the suspect and his accomplices. The Ghana Police Service wishes to assure the public that the investigation remains ongoing and that every effort is being made to ensure that all the perpetrators are brought to justice.
We'll be bringing you every detail of that investigation as on when the Ghana Police Service would update us. But that gruesome murder happened in a Shoman estate here in Accra. Now, the Education Service has expressed concerns over the alarming rate of examination malpractices among students in the Ashanti region. GES says out of 144 senior high schools in the region, 76 were found to have engaged in one form of examination malpractice or the other. Public Relations Officer for the Ashanti Regional Education Directorate, Henry Oseboating, tells my colleague Oheming Teria the situation does not only affect the integrity of examinations, but also the future of students whose exams are cancelled or withheld. The concerns come as the West African Examination Council and the Ghana Education Service launch a report on examination malpractices after a series of investigations. Now, let's get on the phone and speak to my colleague Oheming Teria for more on this. Oheming, tell us, how widespread is the issue of examination malpractice in the Ashanti region? Please unmute if you can hear me. We'll try and reconnect with Oheming Teria to bring us updates on that investigation that GES together with WAEG have launched in there. But let me try again. Oheming, if you can hear me, how widespread is the situation in the Ashanti region?
Yes, according to GES, the situation is widespread. Because out of 144 senior high schools in the region, after WAEG's investigations in collaboration with Ghana Education Service, 76 of these schools were found out to have complicit in the exams last year. So this is what compelled GES to embark on a series of education to educate students and teachers in the region. And for WAEG, they are concerned because if you look at the papers, the exams papers that were marked, some had instructions as if they were coming from their teachers. According to Mr. Boatin, in one instance, some of the students had written and copied everything, supposedly a foreign paper from outside the examination hall, coming from a supposed teacher, indicating that when you finish copying the answers, pass it on to another student. So this is an indication that the exams itself is affected, and GES is concerned because it doesn't only affect the integrity of the examination, but also affects the future of these students, the candidates who take part in the examination. So they have warned that henceforth anybody caught in exams malpractice will be dealt with. Mr. Boatin did indicate that over the period, some teachers have been arrested and prosecuted, some serving a jail term of 30 days, in prison, others also being fined in the process. So GES is much concerned about examination malpractice in the Ashanti region, and that a monitoring team has been set up.
Well, I mean, you have just told me as well what GES is doing. That's punitive, but are they undertaking anything that will prevent this more beyond the punitive measures?
Yes, they are engaging the teachers and also the students themselves to understand that exam malpractice is something that is not accepted by GES and WAEC in general. And beyond that, they are also look at what will motivate teachers, for instance, to be engaged in exams malpractice. And they discuss the allowance given to the invigilators and teachers who take part in the examination, and that they are going to up these allowances to discourage teachers from undertaking or engage in exams malpractice.
Right, that's interesting. Thank you so much, Ahiminteria, for that update. Now, away from WAEC and GES, a heavy downpour accompanied by flash floods has cut off several communities in the Sisala East municipality from their municipal capital. The floods have brought commercial activities in the area to a standstill, including the transportation of fertilizer and other essential farm inputs. Sisala East Municipal Chief Executive Adamu Yakubu expressed concerns about the impact of farmers who are currently preparing to apply fertilizer on their fields. He noted that many farms are now inaccessible due to roads being washed away by the floods. JoyNews West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam reports.
The Kasana Enclave is a predominant farming hub located on the eastern corridor of the Sisala East Municipality. It comprises of 9 communities and shares border with Burkina Faso. The livelihoods of the people is under threat following torrential rains last week, washing off several bridges, including Piribuga, halting all transportation activities in the enclave. Assembly member of Kasana, Moro Dramani, is deeply concerned about the high tools in the transportation of fertilizer and other farm inputs, having fears that it will have a ripple effect on the people.
Because if serious intervention is not come to our support, like this road, because it's the 3rd year, if we want to continue to be this, I think it will be a big challenge for us. The first year that the road has been washed, I think someone even we lost someone here. The person was coming speed, with that, knowing that this place has washed away, he came and fell inside these rocks, and he lost his life. I'm begging, I'm appealing for support so that leaders support municipal chief executive and they will come and support us.
The violent floods washed off the entire road, exposing the boulders and leaving the concrete frame of the bridge naked. Sisala East Municipal Chief Executive Adamu Yakubu painted a gloomy picture for the municipality if the road is not fixed on time, stating that it will affect hundreds of farmers who have invested millions of Ghana cedis on their farms.
This month is a very critical month in our farming calendar. August is a critical month. This is the month that we apply fertilizer in our farms. We cannot go to farms. How do we apply fertilizer? We have invested so much in our farms. We have used thousands of Ghana cedis to actually invest in our farms, and it cannot go waste.
He appealed to the government through the Minister of Roads and Highways and other key stakeholders to come to their aid.
Currently, we are trying to see how we can be able to manage the situation by engaging our drip equipment, but that will be a temporary measure. This is not the only place that we have a problem. Within the municipality, we have similar situations just like what we are seeing here.
Crossing from one end of the road to the other, even on a motorbike, is not a child's play. Farmers using their motorbikes to transport fertilizers on the bumpy, undulating, and gaping hole boulder exposed road have to offload some of the fertilizers to enable them meander their way through.
Reporting for JoyNews, Rafiq Salam, Piribuga.
Let's bring you some updates from the seat of government. President John Mahama has directed the ministers for the Interior, Transport and Foreign Affairs to collaborate on expanding the country's new Advanced Passenger Information API and Passenger Name Record PNR system. This expansion is to ensure the swift implementation of electronic visa services for people entering Ghana. Speaking at the commissioning of the Air Navigation System Complex and the new API and PNR Operations Center, President Mahama stressed a critical role of the Advanced Passenger Data System in enhancing national security, improving border control, and streamlining traveling processes. He said it will help to fast-track the implementation of e-visa services. Presidential Affairs correspondent joins us via phone and gives us updates. Maxwell, it was a dual commissioning of the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority. Tell us more about that the importance of that Air Navigation System Operations Center.
Air Navigation Services Central Infrastructure will serve as the hub for providing critical information to aircraft and all of that. So it's like the central operational hub for air navigation services. And that building was commissioned, which would house, all of these systems that you mentioned earlier. But the advanced passenger information and then the passenger name record system is going to help provide critical information to the relevant state authorities about passenger information even before they set up to Ghana. So the advanced passenger information system, for instance, will provide adequate information about who is coming into the country, and the passenger name record system is also going to help do that. So the president is urging the three ministers to help integrate these two systems. And these two systems, when integrated, would help speed up the country's quest to move to e-services, electronic services. So what it means is that it will be easier for people outside the country who want to travel to Ghana to get electronic visa, services. And the president also mentioned at this particular event that they should also work towards expanding these services not only to our airports but also to our land, also to our people, and then to other relevant borders of the country as well. The president also talked about how this is going to boost our fight against terrorism, against drug trafficking, and against many other things that the security agencies have been working on. So really, it was a big event. The inauguration of the ANS system, and then also the API system, and then the passenger name record system, which is going to boost Ghana's aviation, security.
Thank you so much, Maxwell. I'm certain that everybody's looking forward to how smooth that implementation will be. Now, away from that, the demand for 2 to 3 years rent advance has pushed Gustav Kese to the edge of eviction every single day. In a single overcrowded room at Kokomba, one of Accra's most neglected slums, the 28-year-old delivery rider stretches every city just to keep a roof over his wife and 3 children's head. Kenneth Jesse has more in today's episode of our Habitat series.
Gustav Kese is a senior high school graduate who left Bando for Accra as a teenager in search of a better life. Now 28, he's a husband, father of 3, and a delivery rider, trying to make something out of life from within the slums of Kokomba. For the past 12 years, this cramped room, barely large enough for a mattress, ceiling fan, and a few personal belongings, has been home to Gustav and his growing family.
The issue about Bando is there's no income there. There's no way that I can do. I can do, because normally my food is delivery. That's what I do. So that's what I know. I know how to do best. And back at Bando, there is nothing you can do like that. Unless maybe farming or something like that. Yeah, I've been here for 12 years. Yeah, I stay with my wife and 3 kids.
So all the kids were born in this room?
Yeah, I think two was born. Yeah.
He pays 320 Ghana cedis a month, collected in weekly installments of 80 cedis, for this narrow wooden single room in a crowded compound. 17 other tenants live upstairs, with as many living downstairs. Rent collection here is strict. Miss just a week's payment and you risk being thrown out.
Yeah, I pay rent.
How much?
80 cedis a week. Everybody pays. Yeah, I think we have about 18 on one line, 18 behind. The biggest challenge living here is the pressure in paying the rent. Because if you default for a week, they have to come and lock your place. And if you default for 2 weeks, by the time you come, they'll just pack your things out. Initially, when I came here and I was new, by the time when I default for maybe a week or two, by the time I come, they lock my place. They have to send my wife and kids out. When I come back, either I send them money or I come back and talk to the landlord before he opens and allow them in.
When was the last time such a thing happened?
I think it was maybe last year, September.
The place is untidy, noisy, and above all, unsafe.
Sometimes the smoke they normally send fire down there, so the smoke comes in. Normally we have some insects here, but the guy has to defumigate the place. That's why it is like we are not witnessing that, and the place is not tidy.
Gustav has tried many times to move his family out, but landlords demanding 2 to 3 years rent in advance have priced him out of a better home. His motorbike, acquired through a work and pay arrangement, brings in just enough for him to save about 700 cedis a month, still far short of what is needed to afford a new place.
Let's assume you are making the 200 cedis, but you can't save all the 200 cedis. The expenses and all that you do daily, you should just be saving 50 Ghana, so maybe at a month. If I could save them, maybe that's 700 so I can save a month. Because when I try renting and they said, for the least I can get is 200 cedis, and he is taking 3 years, where am I going to get that money from? So it's made me lose hope, and I felt comfortable at a point here because there's no way I'm going to get that money. So I felt comfortable, thinking maybe if I work, I can be paying the 80 cedis a week. I think I can be doing that. That was why I think I'll be here, but I think now I have to move.
Despite working 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, what he earns barely feeds his family, let alone helps him save the thousands of cedis required for rent advance. He partly blames the rent system for failing people like him.
Yeah, I work every day, excluding Sundays. Sundays I go one and I go off the following one. Normally I have to go 8:30 and I close at 8 p.m. Yeah, I go to 8 a.m. and close at 8 p.m. It has fed a whole lot of youths. Not only me, it has fed a whole lot of youths. Let's assume someone is working and earning 1,500. How do you expect the person to get 500 cedis a month for 2 years or 3 years? You can't get that money to pay the rent. So at least what you can do is maybe afford a salam or maybe a wooden structure at some point and manage, or not completed, but then manage that. But I'm really tired. I'm really tired of staying here. Because of that, my friends don't come here. Because the last time I even spoke to a friend and he was saying like, oh, even where you stay, you can't come and visit you. So maybe when I'm home, that's why I go to visit my friends. But they can't come to me because where I stay.
And despite all these challenges, the man from Kwando, who lost both parents at a young age, remains defiant. He hopes that once he finishes paying for his motorbike, which is in about a year's time, he will finally be able to secure a decent home for his family. From the slums of Kokomba in Accra, my name is Kenneth Jesse for Joy News.
Definitely a story that many of us relate to. You're watching News Today. Please stay for business.
Welcome back to business here on Joy News Today. My name is Winston Taki, and out to our first business story. Government has announced an increase in the cocoa producer price for the next crop season. A ton of beans has gone up from 45,600 Ghana cedis to 51,660 Ghana cedis. However, when it comes to 64 kilo bag, it will now be selling at 3,228 Ghana cedis.
The government has, by this decision, increased the producer price significantly by 62.58% in US dollar terms. This increase in the producer price represents 70% of the gross free on board value of $7,200 per ton, in alliance with the NDC's manifesto and President Mohammed's promise to pay the cocoa farmer 70% of the FOB price. It is significant to note that for the 2024 and 2025 crop season, the previous administration set an FOB value of $4,850 per ton of cocoa and the producer price at $3,100 per ton, representing 63.9% of the FOB price, even though the world market price at the time was much better than today. And for emphasis, between 2024 and 2025, the previous administration set the FOB value at $4,000.
Moving on, government recorded a 75% oversubscription of treasury bills to the tune of 6.78 billion cedis. This is despite interest rate going down. There is more in this report.
According to the auction results, the government accepted 5.48 billion Ghana cedis of the total bids tendered by the investors. The majority of the bids came from the 91-day bill. A little over 4.8 billion Ghana cedis, representing 71% of the bids, were tendered for the 3-month bill. The uptake was 4.320 billion Ghana cedis. For the 182-day bill, 1.156 billion cedis of the bids were tendered. The bids accepted were estimated to the tune of 823.28 million Ghana cedis. On the other hand, 774.65 million cedis were tendered for the 364-day bill. About 343 million Ghana cedis were tendered. Meanwhile, the yield on the 91-day bill went down by 54 basis points to 10.83%. VAT of the 182-day bill also fell to 12.35% from 13.22%. Similarly, the yield on a 364-day bill decreased by 1,006 basis points to 13.24%.
We have more business update for you on the marketplace at 1 p.m. Up next is sports.
Time for sports on GM today. My name is Haruna Mubarak, and we are just 5 days away from the highly anticipated Joy Sports Invitational Tournament, scheduled for August 9 at the University of Ghana Stadium. Now, insurance giants Star Assurance say they are bringing 4 decades of experience to the games.
You know what? When you have a solid partner for 40 years, this is the kind of energy you have. Yes. You all have every reason to smile. You all have a reason to smile. Quite incredible. Energy. How ready are you people for this event?
When it comes to the insurance industry, we are the gargantuan conflagration when it comes to domiciling your human edifice. Do you understand? So on Saturday, we are going to let everybody understand that the architectural construction of the Great Nations Peninsula was not perambulated in one rotation of the earth.
So I'm the interpreter. Yes, I'll break it down. So all that he's saying, yes, is that Star Assurance, this year, look out for us. It's our maiden entry. I hope you understand that one. Yeah. But you should look out for us. Because as your solid partner, what he didn't add is the fact that we were able to pay claims to over 4,000 individuals. Yes.
That's your sports on JN Today. My name is Haruna Mubarak. Up next is World News. Please stay.
A white South African farmer and his 2 employees, accused of shooting dead 2 black women and feeding their bodies to pigs, have gone on trial for their murders. Maria Magato, 45, and Lucia Ndlovu, 34, were allegedly looking for food on the farm near Polokwane in South Africa's northern Limpopo province last year when they were killed. Their bodies were then alleged to have been used to feed pigs in an apparent attempt to dispose of the evidence. Of the farmer, Zachariah, and his employees are yet to enter a plea. Please stay for Showbiz.
My name is Loishala Demi and you're watching Showbiz. Let's get into our stories. Thousands of Ghanaians and fans of music icon Charles Kojo Fosu, affectionately known as Daddy Lumba, gathered at the Independence Square on Saturday for a moving candle light vigil in his honor. His family, making their first public appearance since his passing, delivered an emotional tribute and thanked the crowd for celebrating the life and legacy of a man whose music continues to inspire generations. The event drew notable industry figures, all united in honoring a timeless legend.
We love Daddy Lumba, everyone. Show some love. Light us, light us.
This was the atmosphere at the National Candlelight Vigil held at Independence Square, where crowds gathered to celebrate Daddy Lumba, a man whose music still echoes through pubs, market stalls, and fills playlists on both radio and television. For the first time since his passing, Daddy Lumba's family took to the stage to share their tribute publicly.
We gather here today in deep gratitude for the life of our father, for the love he gave us, and the legacy he leaves behind.
My father was a man who cared deeply, and he loved fiercely. He taught us all resilience. He taught us strength. He gave from his spirit without ever needing applause.
Without your support, he wouldn't be Daddy Lumba. Thank you for coming, and we will love you.
Yedama Sibebre. Yedama Sibebre. Yedama Sibebre.
What was meant to be an evening of solemn reflection and mourning soon transformed into a celebration as industry heavyweights and devoted fans alike joyfully reflected on his decades-long impact on the music scene.
Like I said, Lumba, I know Lumba is not dead. He's still alive. He's in our midst here.
I will remember him for one thing, that you don't ever have to give up in life. You just have to fight. Keep on fighting. You know what I mean? Lumba has touched us one way or the other.
2010, I performed with him. But since 2010, I never met him again. So I was hoping and looking forward to meet him.
We have lost a pace setter, a legend whose boots will be so difficult to fill.
Lumba reign forever. Lumba have not died. He need a time to rest, so Lumba is resting.
The president of the Musicians Union of Ghana Music.
Moving away from that, veteran actress and producer Akofa Jenny Asiedu, is calling for a national tribute to immortalize music legend Daddy Lumba. Speaking at the Candlelight Vigil, she praised his immense contribution to Ghana's music history and suggested that they create a symbolic monument to preserve his legacy and inspire future generations.
Look like somebody that people are just going to forget in a week or two. I mean, creatives don't die. His work is going to live on forever, like Bob Marley. He's not dead. His songs are being played every day. Daddy Lumba is going to live on through his works. But it would be nice if the country will also do a symbolic thing that will be a remembrance of him. That will be good.
And that will be all for Showbiz. I am Lois Shola Adeyemi. Over to you.
Well, not over to me, over to all of us. And thank you for watching today. There's more news if you log on to myjoyonline.com. Please stay for Marketplace.